Hi everyone, and today's guest on our podcast is called Mubbasher. He is the founder and owner of Welltime. A really insightful episode. Mubbasher talks about growing up in Pakistan, lifelong academic. We lost count of how many degrees he's got, but he moved from Pakistan, he came over to Scotland, Strathclyde Uni, done loads of internships, and then just skipped the whole job bit and just launched his business straight away. Talked about the pain points that he identified and how he got into software. And then the last chunk of the episode is a lot about AI. Mubbasher's our AI man. So some really, really interesting stuff. I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for coming, Mubbasher.
My pleasure.
And I've kind of twisted his arm and sort of talked him into coming reluctantly. But I'm really excited to hear all about your
For
story.
the record, you have excellent, convincing, stroke blackmailing skills.
I'll take that. But I've known you for a while, Mubbasher. We actually met as part of a coaching group many moons ago and kept in touch. And I'm just delighted that you've taken up my offer to come sit down with us, because I'm really keen to hear about your story. And like all stories that we do on the podcast, let's just go right to the start. Talk to us a little bit about your childhood, where you grew up, family dynamics, and all the above, really.
Oh, okay. Gosh, going all the way back.
All the way back, mate.
Rewind. So in the beginning, there was nothing. And then it happened, a big bang, and then the universe expanded, etc. I come from a small village in Pakistan, where my early childhood was. And my parents have been really, really great and loving and supporting. And I wouldn't be here without their constant ongoing support. So very early on, my father was in armed forces, so he was usually away from home on his exercises or whatnot. Mostly it was my mom who kept me on the straight and narrow path, as they say. And I am the eldest of 4 brothers.
4 brothers, right?
Yeah,
okay.
No sister. And I did well in schooling thanks to my mom's constant vigilance and study, otherwise you'll amount to nothing kind of approach.
Yeah.
And in fact, you asked about family dynamics. One of the things that I remember from early when I was in teens was she was asking me to study, and I was like, no, but I don't want to, or this and that. And she picked up the badminton racket and just hit me with it. Not the first time. And I don't know, maybe the racket was already cracked or whatnot, and it broke. So goes the lore that, she broke a racket on the eldest one, so all the others were like right in the line. So I was just pleased with myself and giggling that, ooh. And then she reached for the tennis racket, and I had a runner from that room.
That was too much. So I actually know your son Mahad as well. You brought him in. Do you use the badminton and tennis racket regularly to him?
Sadly, no, because there are different laws in different countries, I think. So that kept me on the kind of path of learning. From the very early childhood, I think I was introduced to books and stories, and I really liked reading and read a lot. I think it had 2 impacts. It allowed me to develop a really good and strong imagination and visualization. But I think it also made it hard for me to focus on something for a prolonged period without drifting into, I don't know, La La Land and imagining things and kind of things coming alive and whatnot. I don't know. I have never sought any diagnosis, but maybe it would be called something or other, ADD or ADHD or whatnot nowadays. Anyway, so that was the thing. And
just on the books, obviously that's interesting that you gravitated to books, right? Thinking back to them, was there any books that you remember reading that you were like, wow, this is amazing? as a
Oh,
youngster?
I read a lot, but the very, very first few books, I think the second book that I read was called Six Bad Boys. It was in Urdu language, Chhe Bure Ladke, but English translation would be Six Bad Boys. It was about 5 friends who are doing all the sort of naughty things and not being good, or wandering around and doing things. And the 6th one that joins their group is kind of nice and eventually manages to get them all on the good side.
Yeah.
The thing about that 6th boy was that his mother would, when she was talking to the other children's parents, she said that I usually praise him to be a good son and do the right things, etc. And you would be amazed how you praise somebody, they start sort of molding into that praise to earn it or to become worthy of it or whatnot. But the behavior changes as you praise somebody towards whatever you praise them to. Now, in addition to me reading it, my mom also read that book. So she took it really to the heart and she started praising, oh, my son is so clever and intelligent and he stands first in his class. And lo and behold, I think in addition to the rackets and the badminton and whatnot, perhaps that was also one of the things that allowed me to, in a way, becoming good in academic studies.
Great.
And you went to school in Pakistan?
Yes.
How did you find school? Did you like school?
Schooling. My village was about 20 miles away from the nearest city where there was a good school.
Right.
And every morning around 6 a.m., I would stand on the bus stand with my grandfather who had a work or job in the city. It would take us 45 minutes to an hour to get to the school. Sometimes the buses would run late, and there was a big mountain in the middle that they would go through, etc. And at times when I would get late in getting to the school, the principal there had a interesting way of punishing. He would make a fist and really hit you hard in the back of your back. It hurt a lot. And so everybody was frightened of it. And I remember one day I was sitting in the class when a student came and said that, Mubbasher, the principal is asking for you. Come to the office. I was like, oh no, what happened? I was on time today. What happened? So I went there and the principal had like 3 other students standing near the wall. And he pointed at me and he said that, this one, he comes from 20 miles away. He usually comes on time and you guys come from just adjacent location. You are late. So, and I was like, oh,
Right, okay, aye.
it was nice. But yeah, schooling was interesting and good. I think I liked some of the teachers and I don't think I had anything negative or bad in school times.
Yeah. And obviously you mentioned about your love of books and imagination, and any subjects in school that you gravitated towards, either, high school or primary school, as they call it here?
I think I liked science a bit, and the language studies, etc. Perhaps because, again, it allowed me to imagine things a little bit more. I wasn't particularly good in maths or deep science, as I later on studied physics, chemistry, and biology, etc. for science degree and the basics of it. But yeah, I think it was initially not that difficult, but it became significantly challenging as I grew older. And in the education system there, you have to score certain number of marks in order to qualify for the next tier and get to the subjects or the theme or strand you want to get to. So in my early education, I didn't get to that number of marks, or merit as it's
Yeah.
called, to get the entrance done. So I as I mentioned previously, my mother had a significant impact on me and influence in the early childhood. And later on, it was my dad who had an influence and impact. At that time, when I didn't get into the university that I needed to go to do the engineering, you remember the story about, asking the hand of a fair maiden situation. That was not recorded. You want me to tell that story as well?
Yes, by all means, yes.
Please.
So I wanted to do computer science. My parents wanted me to be an engineer, and I was explaining to them that, look, the world is going to be all about computers. That's the future. It would be exciting, this and that. And they said to me that, look, when we go to a fair maiden's house to ask for her hand for you in marriage, to ask for the girl's hand, when we tell her parents that our son is an engineer, they will say yes immediately. They would not have heard of what that computer thingy is. So as I was mentioning and remembering, there is no comeback from that kind of a bouncer, googly attack.
Smart man.
Yeah, true.
And you said as well, Mubbasher, because we're going to come on to the computers and the engineering, what you studied. You said earlier that you weren't good at maths. Nearly fell off my chair considering what you help us with.
That surprises me as well. I don't know why, but
I'm totally shocked at that. But you mentioned that your mother was quite influential early on in your life, then your father sort of started taking over a bit. But he was in the armed forces, wasn't he? And what was it like having a father in the armed forces? What was that like growing up?
Postings. Every 2 years, you get posted to a new city. So no long-term friends, pack everything, go to another place, start the school again, first day, little kind of the same anxiety again and again.
So did the full family move every time? Right,
exactly,
okay.
yeah. And as I mentioned, Pakistan is quite a sizable country, so places are far from each other as well. And it also meant that when the posting orders would come close to exams and whatnot, you still pick up and go. So it could mess things up in many ways.
Yeah, so you're quite used to moving
some
about
challenges. Then? Yeah, at that stage, it was the norm. So we had gotten good at packing everything and then getting up and going. But that meant that I think just before another major exam, there was posting and whatnot. So I didn't get enough marks, and not to blame it on it, because other people or pupils had similar situations, but they worked harder and better and they got good marks. I didn't. It was mainly my own responsibility. But what I thought I would do is, if I can't get into engineering in Pakistan, let's go to UK. My uncle and aunt were in England at that time, both doctors. Uncle was doing a postdoc, PhD or postdoc there. So I thought I will go to UK. They will just accept there's no minimum merit and whatnot. So that would be a useful thing to try. In those days, you didn't have that many telephones, and in Pakistan anyway. So, and especially to make international calls. So my father would drive me to the local PCO, the public call office or phone call office, and we will then make the calls. And those were expensive calls. I mean, maybe if you can think of it as £1 a minute kind of a rate situation.
Right.
And he never complained. And he would just, I was asking my uncle and aunt about the admission.
Talk fast.
True. Yeah. But one day on the way back, he said to me that if you are facing challenges here, if it gets difficult here and you are facing challenges here and you are running away from the challenge to over there, where would you run to when it becomes difficult and challenging there? And I don't know if it was the simplicity of the way he said it or ground truth or whatnot. It just hit me straight, like, ooh, that's what I'm doing. So that day, no more calls. I sat again to do the exam again, retaking the exam. And at the same time, there was my computer degree that I wanted to do was happening as well. So I ended up doing like 5 major exams in 2 years with significant travel in between as well as etc. And ended up with a computer science bachelor's degree in first division and an engineering degree eventually also in first division from just sitting down and not running away from the challenge.
Yeah. Good, mate. And what then inevitably brought you to the UK? Did you come to the UK or did your entire family come to the UK?
Just me. So as I was doing the engineering, I was always interested in other things, literary or artistic, and I was head of the dramatic society there, and we put some performances and whatnot. And I realized that each time I need to get anything done, it's the permission that needs to go through finance director and the registrar and whatnot. And I kind of realized that there is a lot more than just being very good engineer if you want to be successful. Mm-hmm. There are other stakeholders, key parties that I need permission from or approval from. And I got a bit curious. Why is that? Like, what did these guys do to become in a position of power or in a situation where they are now? And I also, from kind of early on, found business-related things more interesting. So that kind of led to pursuing a business degree. Also, in Pakistan, you could copy any software and there weren't that many laws about copyright, or as I like to call it, we are a copyleft country. You'll have cracked software from wherever. And I just thought that if I do software and I spend many, many years and effort in building something, somebody else can as easily crack it and use it without paying me anything as I'm able to do some other softwares. So it didn't look like a productive or prosperous path to me. How wrong I was, I realized later. But I thought, okay, let's do some business and mix and match and combine. So I then decided to apply for universities. And I was accepted in UMIST, but their session was starting the next year. That was engineering. That was University of Manchester, in Manchester, and also in Strathclyde, which was starting much earlier. And I ended up in Strathclyde University.
Right, wow, okay. And that's how you got to Scotland then? And did you consider any other countries? Because obviously when you're in Pakistan, you're not short of options if you're going to leave Pakistan. What
good
made you
question.
Pick the UK?
I did. I had a look at America, US, and Australia also a little bit. For some bizarre reason, I felt that in US there isn't that level of depth of history. It was like 200, 300, 500 years old country, whereas there was a much longer heritage in a way in the United Kingdom. Much more interesting background.
I could picture you with an American twang as well.
But that is where I had to learn English. English is not my first language. So I initially learned or was majorly influenced by Hollywood movies. Yeah. So my early on English was more like, I will be back style English. But luckily I got latched on to BBC, and that's where I learned it the second time. And then I landed in Glasgow.
Yeah, your English is better than mine now.
No, not at all. But the thing is that when I landed in Glasgow, among the first few cultural shocks, one was that I had no idea what was the lecturer saying. It was just going over my head or in between my legs, but not much hitting in between.
So how long ago was this? When did you come to the UK?
That was about 25 years ago.
25, right.
Back in 1999.
Right, okay. So you came here to go to uni. What age were you at that point?
I was 28, I think.
28, right, okay, cool. And how daunting was that, coming to a foreign country yourself, you don't speak the language, like that? That terrifies me, really, but was there a sense of adventure, or was it a really tough experience those first couple of years?
I remember when I walked out of the plane and essentially walked out of the Glasgow airport building, the first thing that hit me was the drizzle. And I loved it.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, it's so nice. It's cool. It's very nice. The second thing was the black Hackney round cab. And I was like, oh, the cabs that I have seen only in James Bond movies, I'm going to be sitting in it and going to some place, etc. So then there was a very interesting trying to understand what the driver was saying and what I was asking him. And eventually I showed him the slip and he said, you are going to the Strathclyde University, etc. So he took me to Strathclyde University. And that was where the third interesting cultural thingy happened, or shock. I didn't know how to open the taxi door. Unlike the handles opening outwards, it opens upwards, or those were opening upwards. So, interesting learning in those days. But I think there were quite a number of very positive things as well, other than the drizzle and the nice weather, which as I said, genuinely I quite like.
And just to put that in context, actually, about the weather, so where you grew up in Pakistan, what was the weather like there?
40, 45 degrees in summer. So you can cook an egg on the road or make chapatis, or even in the shadows, the metal gets so hot that, it kind of is very hot, or your spectacles would leave a mark on your face.
So this is how our lovely Scottish climate started.
Exactly. I mean, in Pakistan, if you have overcast, cloudy weather, overcast, and it's slight drizzle, people make pakoras and they go on romantic long walks or drives. It's like romantic season. So I can safely say that my 25 years stay in Scotland has been one long romantic season.
I just think it's funny because like Scottish people are, I'll speak for myself here most of the time. It's like, get a bit of sun and, we get the pakoras out, This is it, here we go. Whereas it's the complete opposite in that first transition for you. It's just really interesting.
And I think that is where migration does that. So it accentuates a little bit the differences. And I remember in early days, in Eastern countries and societies, you're taught to lower your gaze when talking to elderly or females, for example, as a sign of respect. Here, you lower your gaze, you have something dodgy. Why aren't you looking me in the eyes? It's an exact opposite kind of situation. One of the things later on when I started driving, I have learned here is that people have a lot of patience. And if you come to a junction, they will give you a dipper, the lights that I'm stopping, please go ahead and come. It's exactly opposite in Pakistan, where they give you a dipper that I am coming through, stop, otherwise it's your responsibility. So you have to do those mental translations each time crossing the borders that way.
And what was it like going to study in a Scottish university, that transition? Was it a postgraduate degree that you done?
Yeah. It was an MSc in Business and Management, and later on conversion to MBA with specialism in leadership studies through Strathclyde University in conjunction with Leadership Trust. But again, it's an interesting question. I remember Professor Mullen, I think, it was the second day when I had come to the university, and he said that whatever we are going to teach you here is going to be obsolete by the time you graduate from here. And my jaw dropped, and I looked right and left, and I saw everybody else's jaws drop as well, because education was quite expensive, and especially if you are converting it from another currency, from another country into pound, it becomes even more so. You feel the pinch. I was like, we are going to be learning something that's not going to be useful or obsolete. And he continued on and said that basically what we are going to do is to stress test you. by giving you assignments that would be close together with their deadlines and close to the exams, etc. If you pass, which we hope most of you would, the piece of paper that you'll carry is an indication that you guys can take the stress. When given an assignment or a task, you can A, learn very quickly what it's about, and B, deliver on time. And that is transferable skill. That is what's valuable for employers.
Yep.
And I was doing a business and management degree, coming from a very heavy technical background, and there were many new things. There were very sharp learning curves. In Pakistan and in my village where I had grown up, or even in the city, I had not encountered the concept of shares in business. Like people can have other people who have part ownership in your business. And it's a simple, very basic concept. Everybody else in my class knew it. I didn't. So I had to spend, I think, about 3 to 4 times more effort in learning finance and accounting and those kind of things. And I'm very pleased. I said this to my family the other day as well, that after putting that much hard effort in, it got to a stage where some of the colleagues would come to me in our class, where there were like 16 nationalities in a class of 33 students, to discuss some of the assignment problems when it came to finance. So not being good at math or maths isn't an excuse not to do hard work and become better and better at it.
Yep.
The thing is that I think I get better at it by sheer going through it through a hard work. It doesn't come easy to me.
Yeah. And I can empathise with that. I don't have a maths qualification at all. I don't have standard grade. I don't have higher math. Certainly didn't, do anything in after school. But a key part of running a business is understanding finance, understanding the numbers. And like you, it's like you can do one or two things. You can go, I'm just not a math guy, and that's it. But it's just a self-imposed limitation. I'll be really honest, I probably learned it through gambling in my youth. So I don't know that it's advice that I'd be offering it to people to plug the gap. Really good at fractions.
I can imagine you playing strip poker and becoming very good in learning poker.
But I think I didn't get the qualification because at that point in my life I was just too immature. I just wasn't focused on, right, I probably should knuckle down and learn this because it will be handy to have later in life. But then just, as you periodically go from job to job and grow and mature and go, I should probably learn this stuff actually. Sometimes you didn't have a choice. Like I worked in contact centres at a time where you had to work out calculations manually just with a calculator, and then in time the sets and reps just start to land. And but after university, so you came to the UK, you got yourself, I assume successfully through university, you got your postgrad degree. What was kind of proper job number one, as we like to call it, after university here?
Yeah. But before that, just to mention what you were saying earlier, just brought back to me my father saying, if you are facing challenge here and running away from here, where will you run to when you face challenge, wherever you have run to, when you face challenge there? So it's kind of been in a way, a guiding principle for me, mostly which means don't shy away from challenge or difficult times. And I say it with lots of fondness and love because my father, I mentioned he became a bigger influence later on. He was the first in the family to get educated and the first in the entire village to get double MA and then get to a military career. And every time I think about it is like, my grandmother once told me that there was no light, so he would be studying in the light of lantern, and everybody else was trying to sleep, and he is kind of memorizing things, and everybody would be shouting at him that, go to sleep, why are you bothering us all? And he would carry on, etc. So for me, in a way, a driving factor or a driving motivation or force is that he has managed to give me a platform where there is light, first of all, and clean water and whatnot, and good light. And he managed to get up to here, and he has given me the platform. So where can I get to from this platform as a springboard and moving up and forward? So that kind of is usually when I think about why am I doing it? Yeah, upwards and onwards.
That's quite interesting. So you've sort of observed growing up the determination of your father, and that's kind of instilled this mindset for you around studying. I think that's quite powerful when you thinking as a father now, like kids do absorb what they see, don't they?
Yeah. And you set examples.
Yeah.
We've spoke about this on the podcast on several occasions with immigrants in particular. I always find that immigrants in business in particular that I meet typically have had quite a strict guidance from their parents around, no, this is what you're going to do. You're going to become a doctor, a dentist, an engineer. Whereas in the UK, we tend to be, and I know I'm speaking quite broadly here, right? There are exceptions, but for the most part, the guidance that we give our kids is typically quite broad. It's just kind of, go to school, figure out something that you like or enjoy, and then we'll kind of take it from there. Why do you think that is, for immigrant parents? I know your parents didn't come to the UK, but I dare say that you have a lot of friends and a circle of people in the UK that are part of that community. Why do you think they are very prescriptive around you'll be a dentist, you'll be a doctor, you'll be a lawyer, versus in the UK, most of the guidance that's typically given for parents to kids is just figure it out, see what you like, and then we'll kind of make a decision on where your future lies, or you can make the decision on where your future lies. You even hear a lot of people saying, we just want you to be happy.
Yeah, just want you to be happy.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it has a couple of facets or perspectives. From developing countries or underdeveloped countries, that kind of a strong prescriptive or directive methodology or mechanism is due to availability or lack of opportunities. In certain fields, if you get into them, becoming a doctor, for example, then presumably you are set for life. And therefore, there's a strong economic or financial motive or driver behind it to get into something that would be helpful for a long period of time. Engineering is a good field, and medical, for example, because as long as people are there, illnesses and ailments would be there, and you will always have a sort of a demand in a way. But if you are, a writer, creative writer, or a poet, or a sculptor, or some other things, maybe there isn't that much of a market demand for those skills or that output. That might not be entirely correct or true, but that's certainly how many people look at it. And also, I think it's era-based as well. Now, things are all connected in a global, interconnected village, as we call it nowadays. If you do something in Ghana or Nigeria or in a small town in Pakistan or Mexico, and you put it on Etsy or some other platform, and others can see it and like it and buy it, and trade can happen.
Yeah.
But in the absence of that kind of connectivity, where there is a global audience and a global buyer side, then the opportunities are smaller in certain fields, whereas there are certain safe professions to get into.
Right.
The downside is that it could be quite miserable. You spend your life in something that you don't enjoy or like it, and you are just doing it for the sake of money. The flip side of it is that if everything is do whatever makes you happy, there is then not enough of a initial push to develop the personality, the skills, the discipline that would be also quite a useful thing for a lifelong thing. Because life is not a bed of roses, as we from time to time find or are reminded. Things are going to go pear-shaped. What are you going to do when life hits you hard? How are you going to be happy then if you have not been prepared or trained to counter or handle unhappy situations? doing your homework or trying to pass a subject that you really didn't enjoy or didn't like, but you still do it because that's what life has thrown at you.
Yep.
So mixed bag.
All right, interesting. And we'll go back to, so you finished university, proper job, number one. Or actually, before we get to that, I guess when you finished university, did you have a choice in your head around, right, I can either stay here in the UK or go back to Pakistan? And if you did, what made you decide in the end to stay here in the UK initially?
So I thought that basically with the things that I am learning, I am probably able to do a good job of applying myself and realizing my potential here in the UK than I would be in Pakistan. In society, it also goes to a little bit towards how your personality develops and moves forward. I had been very lucky because in Scotland, I felt that there is a lot more of an open arms and open hearts approach. And I keep on telling my friends that I have been adopted by Scotland, whether or not it wanted to or not. But whereas in some other countries, namely Pakistan, I can speak about, there are certain ways of doing things. If you are a straight person and you don't want to offer any backhanders or bribes or whatnot, then in certain departments you might find some resistance and situations. So what are you going to do? Compromise on your principles a little bit to get the task done, or go through the long hog of, no, I'm going to stick on the principle and unnecessarily face hurdles and kind of things. The third thing was that I thought that it went back to one of the earlier experiences. I was speaking about the positive sides of coming here and getting educated. When I asked somebody in the early days, I remember very clearly in George Square, about how do I get to location X, that person looked around. There was nobody in the shop. He came out of the shop and explained very patiently and gently, you go that way, turn there, etc. And I thought that this is not something I would have learned from the books. This is what you get when you are immersed in a culture, to see that side of how things are done. Like, this would be fantastic in a service-oriented economy or society or whatnot, or just being nice and gentle to others. I mentioned that people are patient. You don't hear the honking. And I initially thought that cars are fitted with horns. And I remember I was speaking to my family back in Pakistan, and I heard a horn outside. I was like, they have horns here. Do you hear that?
That's quite interesting, because there'll be some people that maybe have a commute like in a busy city and they go, the driving's a shambles over here. Whereas you're quite clear that it's nothing like Pakistan then.
I even find certain parts of Europe, trying to think of places that I've been to outside Europe, Egypt, the driving is pretty aggressive, I would say. You get quite nervous sometimes as a UK passenger. Like you're like, even the way that they communicate, I don't understand what they're saying, but it just feels aggressive. Do you know that way?
I remember Rome being a place where with the driving, I was like, this place is absolute carnage. But just interesting, you noticed that as a cultural shift.
I call it chaotic energy. Like, things are moving not in a particularly descriptive or prescriptive rules-based fashion, but it's just naturally doing. And here people would automatically make lines, and then there would be a efficient way of doing it. There are different kind of efficiencies built into both mindsets. The other thing that to answer your question and to continue that, I thought would be interesting is that in Pakistan, for example, I am looking at a book and studying, and here I am actually getting educated and taught by the people who have written that book. So there's kind of a very interesting link to the source of the information and knowledge. Okay. And the other thing that struck me very interestingly, there were a few teachers, and especially when I eventually did a certificate in in entrepreneurship from Hunter Center, which was part of Strathclyde University. The case-based study method was very new for me. I was given a case to understand the key points, and then next time there would be a live discussion in the class, and the professor would mostly be quiet. It would be basically what I saw was knowledge getting created right in front of my eyes, in which I was also a participant, not handed me down from ivory towers and very clever big professors who knew everything and they were saying this is how things are, and they were just facilitating and nudging it in the right direction. Why is that? Why do you think this is like this or not? So I really like that kind of participative education.
So do you think that maybe, based on what you said earlier around being more creative, maybe your creative mind, instead of being, go and read this book, Mubbasher, it's here's a case study, tell me what you do. You know, it's totally different, isn't it?
It did. And I think that's why I enjoyed it maybe quite a lot more, because to me it was like a natural way of learning rather than, it didn't feel forced.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying my education for
enjoying Glasgow.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for Glasgow, as you know. But yeah, the education part that way was very, very
good.
It was not just instructive, it was more deeper than that, because the things that I learned by participating have stayed with me without me even realizing.
Makes sense. So, very successful academic career. I think we can safely say that you've accomplished quite a lot in that story. You know, multiple degrees, postgraduate, moving to a new country, learning a new language.
For the third time. So first it was the American style, then the BBC style, then the Glaswegian style, Scottish version.
It's a shame Netflix wasn't about back then, because you might have had a few more styles.
Well, I did. So I think the next question you were asking, then what happened?
Yeah.
My first proper job. I have gone through, many people might not realize, but basically when you are an immigrant and you come to Western countries, there is a particular way the visa system works. And it comes with its own pluses and minuses and restrictions as well. The restrictions on my visa meant that I didn't have too many opportunities or options to do things as a non-UK resident or non-UK citizen person. So I did a 2-year arrangement through a British Council-led Scottish Networks International, it was called at that time, where they would place students into organizations to gain practical experience. And the concept was that when these students have better experience, when they go back, they will fondly remember, and they would also progress in their career paths faster, and there would be fantastic links for Scotland to grow, which I think is a really, really good initiative. I ended up doing a 2-year internship with Accenture.
Right, okay, yeah.
In Aberdeen.
Ah, right, okay. Another language. I didn't ken.
There you go, exactly. So I had to learn English the fourth time. It was the tuchter and the chooser terminologies and exactly. So, but that was also very interesting and very exciting, and I enjoyed that quite a lot as well.
Is Accenture a management consultancy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
One of the big ones.
Yeah.
And so you did that for 2 years? Did you
That's
complete
correct.
your 2 years? Yeah.
Yeah. And while I was doing it, I started the degree conversion into, I had a few credits from my MSc in Business and Management, and I quite liked the idea of getting an MBA. So I ended up doing the MBA with Leadership Studies specialism in MBA.
Okay, and where did you do your MBA? Was that in Aberdeen, or were you back down at Strathclyde?
Strathclyde. So I was traveling between Aberdeen and Strathclyde to get that done. Right. And between Leadership Trust on Ross-on-Wye down south.
Yeah. So what age did you achieve your MBA?
I think I was 31, or 30, something like that.
Wow. So you've from an academic point of view, I mean, well done. That's really impressive, the amount that you've accomplished, as well as moving across the other side of the world, and learning Scottish in 2 different parts of Scotland. That might be the most impressive achievement out of the lot. And when did because obviously you've done a lot of studies on entrepreneurship, business, so you can tell there was a real interest about business from you, growing up. When did your first step into business come?
That was way back in Pakistan. So I think I am maybe quite curious.
I would agree. Yeah, in the time that I've known you, you've got quite the curious mind, always asking questions, wanting to learn. And I think even that journey that you've just taken us through, you've learned for a huge proportion of your life. So I think that's an understatement, to be honest.
Sometimes could be to the detriment, because I remember opening up my grandfather's alarm clock. Obviously, I couldn't put it back. So I think he would be turning in his grave now, having discovered, if he listened to this podcast, oh, it was you. So basically, when I was back in Pakistan studying, etc., my uncle was looking for some opportunities, and I went to many different seminars and places with him, and pretty much was a significant part in him opening up the first ever video game shop and entertainment shop in the town, in the village, which he ran for many years successfully. And from there, he then went on to opening a school in which I participated a little bit less, but still helped him, which has, by the way, now become a college in the in the village. So so that was kind of when it started at that. And to me, it's always really, really interesting, even if nobody paid me but said, here is a little problem, business related issue, etc., I would spend hours in the wee hours of night analyzing or thinking about or talking and discussing how this can be done, what if we do this, how about this, and those kind of things. So maybe naturally disposed that way.
Yeah, I can testify to that, having known you for a while now, and I've never ever heard you, when we've been sort of helping each other with different projects, I've never heard you say that can't be done. So the whole problem solving, and I totally get that point because I've seen it firsthand. And I think that's quite an important skill to have, because there's always something to be solved, isn't there? There's always a problem around the corner.
I would build on that and say that it's not just actually about that mindset that you carry. You also, just as part of your mindset, I think speed is a huge part of it. So anytime we've reached out for a bit of help, it's like, right, let's get in a call now and sort it. Like we had a new team member, we reached out to you for some help recently, and I think it was like 10 minutes after we reached out, and you were like, can we jump onto a call to sort this? And the team member was like, what, now? Yeah. And I was like, aye, that's Mubbasher. Like, you did ask for help, so it's getting sorted now. Has that always been part of your kind of ethos? Just, I guess, because some of the listeners in particular that are either in business or have an appetite to step into business might have an interest in this. Have you always had a desire to sort things at pace, or has that been driven by your experience in business?
In certain things, like this interests me hugely, and therefore I don't even realize if I'm doing it immediately or not. It's just like, why wouldn't one do it? But not in all things. So I'm not like that. I'm quite disorganized in other spheres of my life, and don't ask my wife about it, etc. But in all seriousness, good in certain parts and bad in a lot of other areas.
Right, okay, fair enough. So to build on Barry's question, I guess, it sounds like you've had an entrepreneurial interest from a young age, but you've done your time at Accenture. Was there another job or career after that, or was it into business from that point?
So they asked me in Accenture, are you going to apply? And I said that I have some other plans, although I would love to, because if I wasn't bent on establishing my own multi-billion-dollar empire. I said it that way. I was like looking at me like this, really. I would love to continue with Accenture because that was kind of more interesting. Why? Because there were new challenges and problem-solving opportunities in management consultancy or any kind of consultancy. You get ever fresh, new, enough supply of problems to tackle and deal with. But for me, it was more of I wanted to build something on my own and try it out.
And so did you decide at that point to, I guess, start UK-based business number one?
Yes. And part of it is driven by solving problems and looking at what is out there. And part of it at that time was driven by my visa was coming to an expiry. And the thing with the visa mechanism is that it limits your thinking up to that specific date. You can't do much because, let's say, if I'm thinking, should I buy a car? And then I am thinking, if they don't extend the visa, what am I going to do with the car or the sofa or this and that or set this up? And then what am I going to do if the visa doesn't get extended kind of thing? In any case, at that time, the visa expiry date was approaching and there was a scheme for innovators to try and create some innovations in the UK. And I looked around and I was actually sitting in a GP waiting room, and on the wall there was a notice saying that last month 417 patients missed their appointment. Please keep it or cancel it, but don't let it lapse. And again, me being a curious person, I started thinking that that's a huge number of people who didn't show up for their appointments.
And that's in one practice?
In one practice. What is happening here? And I wonder if those patients had not missed their appointments, would mine and other people sitting here in this waiting room, their appointments would be much earlier. So that night I went back and did some research and looked up what is this situation. Do you know how many appointments a year get missed for GPs and nurses alone in the UK?
Must be millions.
You've asked me.
I guess. You've asked me. You've asked us that before.
We did
actually.
that as a interactive kind of a higher-lower game. In the interest of time, but if you remember, just go ahead.
I'm going to see how close. I'm going to say 2.5 million. I might look pretty stupid here, but I'm going to go 2.5.
Why stupid?
Because I might be miles off. And you've already told me the answer.
But in terms of, is it too high in your view, or it might be too low?
I'm going to could potentially look stupid again here, but I think it might be too low.
Yes, it's higher than that.
Yeah.
2.5 million it's higher than that. Make another guess. Go ahead.
6 million.
Getting warm. Higher.
Oh God. 9 million.
Higher.
Oh my God.
11 million.
Higher. For GPs and nurses alone, not talking about hospitals or consultants or operations. This is just GPs and nurses. And that was based on the research I was doing back in 2003 when I was starting up looking for the challenge. So it's higher than 11 million a year.
15 million.
Getting close. Higher.
16.
Higher.
17.
17 is correct. So DPP, Doctor-Patient Partnership, published it that at that time, I don't know, I haven't done research recently, but at that time it was like 17 million missed appointments. And a Deloitte report said that it's costing the NHS 585 million pounds a year in missed appointments. I mean, you can build hospitals and X number of beds or ambulances or nurses or whatnot with that resource. So that seemed to me quite a significant challenge and interesting enough numbers as well that if I put in my visa extension application that I am single-handedly going to save the United Kingdom 585 million pounds a year, not just once, I think they would maybe look at it sympathetically, so I will have a better chance of extending visa. Anyway, the business plan and all that stuff I did around. And I did some more research about it, that why is it that people miss their appointments? What's happening? I mean, you wouldn't have made the appointment in the first place if you didn't need it. So why not attend it? There were many different factors, and it wasn't uncommon for you to find me sitting in a bus or a train and striking a conversation with the otherwise elderly looking somber gentleman or lady that, what do you think about health sector here, and what do you think about appointments, etc. They
Good luck to you asking anybody.
Exactly. But I did ask many people, and I found out or sort of discovered or learned that there is, my initial impression was that many people might forget. So a solution would be to remind them of their appointments. And back in 2002, 2003, when I was setting this up and learning about it, nobody was doing that. Nobody was talking about it except for Edenbrook Hospital, one hospital who was trialing some reminders. It was the early days of mobile phones.
Text message.
Yeah.
Text message.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Mubbasher, because you've just got me thinking, right? So, like, if I go and book an appointment with my local doctor surgery, I don't get reminded of that before the appointment. Still in this day in 2025, which is...
I get a text for the GP pretty much every week saying, like, we only have one doctor, go away unless you're dying. Pretty much. That's like the only text message.
So the capability of communication via text is there.
But we are all dying slowly, eventually.
Slowly.
No, but the thing that you just mentioned is there, and I have forgotten how many X millions of letters get lost by Royal Mail, which is just a tiny percentage of the huge amount that they still carry and deliver, which is an amazingly fantastic service. But your hospital letter comes in from a second class post, and if that gets misplaced or lost, or because it's happening so much forward in future months, the waiting lists for some things, they are like 2.5 year waiting lists for hip replacement and this and that. People would not have remembered when the appointment was. So the first initial impression I had was that, okay, let's set up some sort of a reminder system.
Can I pause you for a second, right? I don't mean to be rude, but I want to dig into this a bit, right? So I'll go out on a limb, right, and say that I understand the mechanics and the thinking. You're sitting in a waiting room, you see that in the screen, you think that's staggering, right? I'll go out on a limb and say that 99.9999999% of people would see that and go, oh God, that's terrible, and then just get the phone out or just get back on with their life, right? It's quite a bold, ambitious task or challenge to try and solve, especially for your first one in business. Don't really know what my question is. I guess it's maybe like what gave you the confidence to think I can influence that. I can absolutely, get my teeth into that as a challenge and do something about it, rather than just doing what the 99.99999% of people would do, which is just, oh well, that's horrible, but I'm going to go on with my day.
The statement that according to laws of aerodynamics, the bumblebee's body to wing ratio is such that it shouldn't be able to fly. But because the bumblebee thankfully doesn't know about that law, it happily flies around from flower to flower. The one word answer to your question would be naivete.
Naivete, yeah. I guess so.
Or not knowing what I was putting my head into, or what kind of a chopping block that was. And I mean, there weren't shortage of people who told me so. And I remember somebody saying, who the hell do you think you are coming here and trying to sort out our NHS in those little words that, like, you are just nobody. But it didn't matter to me because I didn't know any better. I was just like, oh, problem, solution. Let's get on with it.
I think there's an important part of that, though. So you've been quite humble with saying naivety. Now, I think naivety can be positive and a negative trait. I think, see, if you've got naivety without determination and problem-solving skills, you're cooked. You're in trouble. But you've got that combination of both, in that scenario?
I hope so, but
Yeah.
we'll
And
see.
I think that's important, because you don't know everything until you do it. You don't know till you know.
Correct. Yeah, that's true. And you can't wait till all the lights are green on your path before you get started. You have to kind of just move forward and then wait and solve whatever the next red light problem is, and then next and next and next. And that's what happened there as well. So I learned that few people forget their appointments, but it's not the majority who don't attend their appointments because they had forgotten. It's just that something else comes up. The National Health Service is a fantastic organization. Really, at the time of need and at the point of need, you get free healthcare, unparalleled, really useful. But also because it's free, essentially, in most of the cases, at least directly. I mean, getting paid through the taxes is the other part of it. But because it is free, therefore, sometimes people don't have any negative side of not attending. However, majority of the people are good and decent and professional and good human beings and people. They pick up the phone and they call the surgery or the hospital trying to tell them, I can't make it. Can I make it? Because I have, somebody coming at the airport to pick up, or the grandchildren have to be picked up from school or whatnot, and nobody else is there. Something has happened where it takes precedence on me going to the surgery. But what happens is that there is only one or two phone lines, and guess what? They are always engaged. Yeah. So a person may try it once or twice, and then they would say in their mind, well, I tried my bloody duty. I tried to tell them, why can't the blooming practice have more phone lines?
Yeah.
And practice is not better off by knowing somebody is coming or not until that person's appointment time comes and the person doesn't show up. But then time is one of those things that it has an inelastic, once the time has gone, it cannot be rescued. There is no salvage value. There is no replenishment. It just goes. So the time to do something about it in order not to get this slot wasted is before it. Once it's passed, not much benefit in sending a letter to the person, what happened, this and that. So that led me to think about trying to do something that allowed people to actually have a non-telephone based way of engaging and interacting with the healthcare organizations.
Yeah.
Online appointment booking would make life easier. So it's not linked to 9 to 5 and after 5 o'clock, nobody's there to pick up the phone situation, or engaged phone lines. And also allowing people to easily change their appointment if they can't make it, with rules and guardrails, etc. So they can't do it last minute. You can set that up in sort of rules of the system. It would allow changing of the appointment up to, 6 hours before. So somebody else might still be able to accommodate it in there.
And is that when Welltime was born then?
That's when Welltime was born. So unlike digging off wells for oil and striking it rich, this well in Welltime is about wellness and well-being.
Yeah.
So Welltime.
And so is it an online software application that you designed or developed and delivered through tech rather than telephony based, for example, or did they interlink? Just tell us a bit about what it is that you actually created.
So I built the platform. Well, first of all, I wanted to get it done with the National Health Service for the GPs and doctors, but it was it was difficult to get into that. The powers to be meet very infrequently, and then things weren't moving at all in that direction. So I was advised by some well-wishers, including people from Scottish Enterprise, that why don't you have a plan B and C in case this doesn't work. So I looked at the next ancillary domain, which was the dental practices, dental appointments, similar kind of issues. And it would allow me to build and test the system and kind of tread along with the NHS until the stage where the NHS is ready for having something like this. And
Is that because most dental practices are privately owned, so it's just easier to get
The
in? There's less
decision
red
making is
tape.
less. Correct,
Right, okay.
correct. Decision making is then and there. The whole idea then at that time was that basically technology exists and we can get it into the in front of the right people. It can really make a big difference. So imagine what can happen here is, let's say if Barry has an appointment for, let's say, 10th of July, right? A couple of days before the appointment, an automated text message or call system, automated phone system, or push notification can go to Barry and say, you have an appointment on 10th July at 11 a.m. with Dr. So-and-so. Are you still coming for the appointment? Press 1 to confirm. If you are not, press 2 if you can't make it. Let's say Barry for some reason can't take that appointment, so he presses 2. Now our system knows ahead of the appointment that this slot is going to be empty. So it can look into the waiting list and start contacting people who have appointments further down the line. So somebody, let's say Brian has an appointment on 16th of July, and it can contact Brian and say that, oh, by the way, Brian, are you able to come earlier? There is a slot that has just showed up, an earlier slot at 11 a.m. on 10th of July. Press 1 in the next 1 minute if you want to take it. Otherwise, your original slot would remain on 16th. Let's say Barry doesn't want it. Then it would go to the next person and next. Let's say somebody on the 18th of July wants to come and take this slot. This person moves to the slot on 10th. Their slot is now free. So start contacting other people and start moving them here.
Just like a round robin.
Exactly.
Continuous.
So what happens then is that your tail end of the waiting list can be brought forward, and there are, elections are fought on this, and it's a hot potato issue. The waiting lists are too long. But there is like 17 million missed appointments you were talking about earlier. There's a lot of wastage in the system as well. How can we use technology to actually make that wasted resource into a reusable, productive resource?
Now that we said earlier, in terms of GP practices, we still don't have that in place. Dental practices, my daughter's had quite a lot of dental work over the last 6 months. That's definitely in place in my dental practice in Uddingston. We get email reminders, text message reminders. We've not missed an appointment, and I don't think we've had an opportunity to bring our appointment forward, but we definitely get reminded. I want to say it's 2 weeks before, 1 week before, and the day before.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember your appointment is at this time.
And it helps. But imagine what happens to people, Scottish people, for example, or UK people, when they are receiving these offers to be seen earlier. I mean, if you are in pain, you do want to get rid of it as soon as.
Yeah.
And if you choose not to take an earlier appointment because some other reasons, you still had the option or a choice to be seen earlier. So the whole concept about the NHS is so lethargic and slow and waiting lists are so long and etc. could be, in terms of public perception, could be managed quite well.
Yeah. And obviously you do a lot of this system, or you've implemented it a lot in dental, I believe.
So I went into the dental and set it up there with dental practices.
Yeah, and who knows, Brian, the messages we get for our dentists might actually be a Welltime system. It could very well be. How many have you worked with in Scotland?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head, but at the peak before COVID, we had, in terms of patients, we were dealing with and providing the facility to nearly 3 million patients.
Wow.
Across the UK.
I was going to ask there, the first couple of years in business for most people tends to be the most troublesome or the most challenging. How were your first couple of years? Did you hit the ground running pretty quickly, or was it a struggle for a couple of years and then you gained momentum?
So you didn't get to 3 million overnight at the start, no?
No, not at all. So remember the mention about who the hell do you think you are trying to solve our NHS problems kind of thing. So that was partially that kind of mindset that the status quo is status quo and people are too busy to look at something different, etc. And it took quite some time to slowly build up towards the. It makes sense on the surface of it when you look at it, but many people still wouldn't want it because, oh no, but we don't want anybody to see our diary, how busy we are or not, or would we lose control of our diary? So systematically, each time those questions came up, I sat back on the drawing board again to think, okay, so genuine concern, how do we resolve it? We don't want to lose control of our diary. Set up some limitations and guardrails that a patient is only able to book, let's say, one appointment online. And until that appointment lapses, they are not allowed to book additional appointments. We don't want patients to know how busy we are or not. Don't show it as a calendar. Show it as available appointments list, which are kind of just listed in terms of time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you don't get to see if the dentist is doing something else or the doctor is doing something else in between or not. You just see what are the availability times that they have made available for you. Set up window of opportunity within which the appointment can be booked. So you control as a clinician when you want the patient to start being able to book an appointment and when they stop doing. Basically, essentially things that a receptionist would be able to do. Some of that heavy lifting can be taken up from the receptionist's shoulders. And time and again, when I was doing this, I came across many teams, staff members who were saying that, between 8:30 to 9 a.m., it's the mad rush hour where everybody's trying to get through on phone. And because we are dealing with certain patients, others are not getting through, they have engaged tone and they are trying and they start getting frustrated and angry. And when they eventually get through, they start becoming quite abusive or at least frustrated and very angry. That has a negative impact on the reception staff and people who are trying their best, and it's no fault of their own. So there were kind of number of other nuanced things that started to kind of become apparent as we were moving forward with it.
I can see the real benefit of the system of that nature. And Brian's example of his experience with the dentist compared to the GP, you can see just how impactful that system is. And what do you think it's going to take, right, for the NHS to adopt like a widespread system like this? And this is a big question, right? But how does that become a reality? Because it seems like an absolute no-brainer.
It's a really, really good question, one that I have thought about quite a bit and grappled with a bit as well. In my humble opinion, the challenge or the problem is that there is no one person or party responsible. It's a collective responsibility, and therefore it's a collective low production arrangement or low efficiency mechanism. But then it's collectively, when everybody is responsible, nobody is responsible. There is no head on the chopping block. There is no one person who would lose anything if this kind of problem is not solved. As a result, collectively as a system moving very slow and grinding to a halt and being inefficient means that the patients suffer. They have pain, they have to wait for very long, unacceptably long periods of time.
Yeah, that is I suppose with a mammoth organisation like that, it does take someone to really say, I'm going to fix this, this is my task. But yeah, I mean, there's 585 million pounds of reasoning why you would want to fix it.
And the patient's uncomfort and the pain. So both, there's a monetary side and then there is the actual patients who are unhappy.
And see, just coming back to the current solution, I guess, that's practically in place across dental practices. I appreciate that the dentists are ultimately still doctors. They really care about patients, but they're also business people. So as part of getting your foot in the door, was there like a commercial return on investment as well as, improving patient care and, public perception and some of the stuff that you've spoken about? What's the commercial benefit of them? Because I guess it's not free, they need to pay for it. And like any, business owner, they need to look at, well, if I spend that, what do I get back? Talk to us about some of the potential commercial benefits of having such an application in place in your practice?
So this is where it becomes really interesting. I remember the first customer who signed up. So I was at one of the dental showcase exhibition trade show. And at that time, I didn't have my own stand. I was there courtesy of another organization that we ended up partnering with at that time. And one dentist said that, I will write you a check now if this can do family appointments, which it didn't. But I went back and 2 weeks later, we said, let's do family appointments. Here is that check. The other dentist, he actually came all the way from Ireland, and they became our first customer, and it was a private clinic. And for them, it was the element of, for our prestigious clients, we want them to have this option available whether or not they use it. So for them, at a high-end clinic, it was part of their image that they are forward-looking, future-oriented practice that's doing whatever it takes to get their clients, their customers facilitated. So what I have learned over the years is that there are kind of different motivations for organizations, like in the healthcare. The private practices, for them, profitability is a motive. They get to see more patients. They get to see happier patients. They get to see patients who are able to book appointments because they are not limited to phone-based engagement anymore, which is 8 o'clock till 6 or 5 o'clock, etc. And many busy bankers or professionals or whatnot, high-value customers are able to do it at their time of choosing.
Yep.
To book an appointment or change it or cancel it, etc. And with the e-payment integration, they can pay then and there. So there is a less of a chasing the patient for the payment mindset or philosophy there as well, or benefit there. For the NHS dentist, it's quite a different mechanism. It's providing the additional access to the patients so that the patients can book appointments, and there is more of the more patients they see, there is more units of dental activity that can be done. So there is a financial element to it as well, but there is more of a providing accessibility to the patients.
Right, okay. Got you. And that part around almost that like busy professionals, and they expect that to be in place. I have an expectation that I can jump on at night after work, and I always find that pretty challenging actually. See, when you phone the GP or the dentist, and it's like you need to be on the phone at 9 o'clock, and it's like, well, I've got the school run, I'm trying to get to work, I've got meetings. It's just a tricky time, I think, for a lot of people to try and get a hold of somebody. And it does seem wild that in today's modern world, like even taking a really, really, really simple view of it, right? So I have a calendar link on my LinkedIn profile.
Yep.
It integrates with my actual calendar. Somebody clicks on it, it shows them when I have an available slot. They can pick it,
Yep.
They can reschedule it. It's so easy. It takes 20 minutes to set it up. So as much as you go, taking on the NHS, taking on dental, it's like a huge, ambitious, there's such simple software applications available already.
In the age of and time of when we can book our train tickets, bus tickets, theater tickets, film, whatever, you can do all of this online. Why can't we do it with one of the quintessential elements of society, the healthcare service provision?
Yeah. And most private healthcare providers that you engage with now, they are a bit more modern. You can do it online. You can speak. I know you've said before that you've spoke to a GP over Zoom.
Aye.
You know, through private healthcare. Like
that sounds like it comes back to the point you raised about the NHS, doesn't it? Around like the lack of ownership. See, when it's private, like your example, Brian, like a private dental, private healthcare, there is a decision maker there in that building. Correct. That can go, yeah, we're going to do this. Like that can be done. But it's just interesting to think the challenge that you identified, as Brian said, you seen a number there and you were like, oh my God, I need to fix this. That led you to your business. You've done amazing things in dental with it. But the core challenge that you've seen all those years ago about missing appointments, it's likely that still exists.
It does, yes.
Which is crazy to think someone like you sitting at this table has got a solution to that, and it's just not there. Now, I know that through your help with us as well, Mubbasher, right? So, just to put this in context to any listeners, whenever I have something technical that I just can't figure out, which happens very, very frequently, by the way, I have a couple of minutes panic. I say to Brian, I'm having a panic, I don't know how to do this. But ultimately, within those few minutes, I phone Mubbasher, right? So, there's a hell of a lot more to what you do than just what you've explained with the great system you're implementing for making sure we don't miss appointments, right? So I've spoke to you recently about artificial intelligence and all the amazing sort of developments in that space, and some of the stuff you've been up to there is fascinating. So as well as what you're doing with Welltime and your booking system, tell us about some of this other weird and wonderful stuff that you get up to in your business.
Okay, see, before you answer that, right, I'll build on that question as well, because this has been racking around in my head, right? I know that you first met at Action Coach, right, which is all about, from memory, I've only been to 1 or 2 sessions, but it's like build a commercially successful enterprise that runs without you, right? So I find Mubbasher, I don't know if it's just because, I don't know, you like us, or, coincidentally when we reach out, you're available, but you typically are pretty available. From a Welltime perspective, and thinking about some of the exciting stuff that Barry's just mentioned that you can by all means, shed some light on, are you able to focus on all of that, because in Welltime that is now pretty well oiled and running without you for the most part, or are you still pretty heavily involved in the day-to-day of that business?
That's excellent question. Both of these are really, really, really pertinent, excellent questions. In the past few years, it had been a well-oiled machine to some extent. And although I can't help but think each time I go on holiday, at least one issue occurs in which I have to be contacted, and without me, it wouldn't get solved. So it's not yet fully at the independent level as I would like it to be. But I think mostly because eventually once you build a team, quite a lot of heavy lifting moves from your shoulders to others, freeing up a bit of your time. But it's also because some of the things that we talk about are things that I'm already interested in or working on. So we talked about AI, and to me, it's really a fascinating and fantastic opportunity. It's opening up those opportunities where I always thought that, there should be a better way of doing something, and how can we get to that? And it's now getting to a stage where with AI, it's enabling some of the automation and knowledge acquisition at a much cheaper rate and ability to do certain things, that the resulting automations can help people and businesses remedy some of the weak points or weaknesses. So, for example, we were talking about this the other day when I was at your offices. Some businesses have a weakness in following up on leads and opportunities that are generated for them. Now, I would be one of those people, because eventually I might get excited after a seminar and do this for a week or 2 weeks, but my natural disposition is in problem solving and innovations, etc., which I am good at. But that also means that I have weak points in marketing and getting innovations pushed out that much, or following up leads. To me, this really is a really interesting element, that if you have X number of leads, having an automated system that immediately contacts the customer and follows it up and nurtures the lead and give them whatever they require to get to the next stage in their decision making, mostly information, to a level where they become a warm lead or ready to make a decision kind of lead. Similarly, the very arduous and boring and laborious tasks where there isn't a direct link to remuneration or end benefit, such as writing tenders or request for proposals or request for information documents could be lengthy, and sometimes answers to single questions require 1,000, 2,000 words of information. Why can't we train AI just like you would train an intern who would do an initial run on those, on answering those questions and preparing a foundational document that then you review and make some edits and then send out? I think technology is at that really exciting, very interesting stage where it can start to do some of these things. So that's why we have now 4 very interesting AI side projects that are running. One of them is with regards to following up the leads. What we are going to come up with a good name later, but at the moment internal project name is lead following and nurturing mechanism. The other one is an AI-based notes taking application, which tends to be kind of a very good use case for AI. So a lot of people are doing, and it's a low-hanging fruit in a way as well. But what we have done is, based on interactions with some of the insurance companies and other colleagues, added some industry best practice comparisons for those notes. So if you are a dentist or a mental health professional or optician or whatnot, the notes that you dictate to the system, it's going to extract the notes in clinical format from it, and then it's going to compare based on industry best practice and provide you with some recommendations or guidance about what's missing and where are deficiencies.
So this example or application is quite relevant because I was in London last week and I was with someone who owns franchises of opticians. And naturally, AI came up in the conversation and I was like, I know a guy, you know. And I remember I messaged you and I was like, you know, send us a link to your application. And you know, this person, I think they've got 5 franchises, and they were telling me about the challenges of note taking and how they're all inconsistent and how that can lead to claims. And when I explained what you'd been working on, like, you can just tell. See, whenever you tell someone an idea and they get it and they think it's good, you don't even need them to say anything.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, this is powerful. So like another example of you solving a problem, really. So hopefully he'll reach out to you. I'll maybe give him a nudge. But I mean, that application's brilliant, Mubbasher, for what I've seen of it.
You did a demo in our office last week or the week before when you were there, and I'm certainly not a clinician, but I guess what I have been is a family member that turns up to hospital and tries to read doctor's notes, and you're like, A, it's written in another language, and B, there's just not much there. And to your point earlier, it's not their fault. They're just under pressure to get through so many people. So I guess in time those notes become shorter, but that does leave them open a bit to claims. And, you know, I think the demo that you did around, I think it maybe was in dental, where the AI took the notes that Barry typed in, read the notes, and then highlighted you're probably missing a few key points here around X, Y, and Z.
The AI instantly sacked me as a doctor. It was dreadful.
Barry spoke those, so he dictated, not
so
typed.
He did, that's so right.
And
it transcribed
picked it up as well.
It did, yes.
Which is impressive.
You are very good in your accent, so
I'll tone it up and down as I go. But that application is that, you know, that's powerful. You've got 4 you mentioned.
Yeah. So the other one is just today before coming here, I got a message from somebody who has 5 supermarkets in a city, and we have been talking with regards to using AI to automatically detect when shop floor theft happens. When somebody picks up something from the shelf, and rather than putting it in the trolley or in a shopping bag, they just hide it in their clothing or kind of, shop theft or shoplifting, picking things up. At the moment, it's very manual, and you have to have somebody looking at all the screens. They have lots of cameras, and then you have people in most of the aisles, keeping an eye, etc. Whereas this would be a much better way, and it would eventually get a good reputation to people that, don't go to that particular shop because they have advanced systems and you never get away with it. Mm-hmm. They have immediate video. The idea is that as soon as somebody picks up something, does shoplifting, you cut that particular clip from the video and send it to the security immediately, so they can just say to the person that, look, this is what you are doing. You have two choices, either return it or we are going to involve police and whatnot. And eventually that kind of consistent behavior means that shoplifters beware, kind of thing.
So
and I got a message today saying that, we would be very interested. So this is one of those things where, remember I was saying at the very early stage that I maybe got good with visualizing and imagining things as I was reading more books and whatnot. And it meant that I have a bit of a focus problem. But when these kind of things happen, sometimes I realize that entrepreneurship and new innovation process is a slow cooking. It's a slow cooker, slow dish kind of thing. And you kind of put something on a slow cooker and it's going to take its time to get to a stage where the buyer is ready or the organization in their own whatever roadmap get to a stage where things are making sense for them. And then suddenly it clicks. So to me, the constant challenge is, should I focus on one thing and then seeing that how things move slowly or faster in outside world, or have a few pots on the go, and as things start to get mature, use that pot to accelerate that kind of a thing? It's a kind of a internal
I was going to ask that question actually. So I guess, I'll start with a compliment. You're one of the rare people, I think, that you meet or that I've met that are exceptionally gifted from a technical standpoint, but also really good at communicating. In my experience, again, I've said this on the podcast loads, but you normally have one or the other in life, where you're really good at communication, but technically, you might struggle a bit. I've certainly fallen in that camp. Or, vice versa. And then you find those rare people that just, have a bit of both. So I can see why you've done really, really well. But thinking about some of the stuff that you've spoken to us today and just the nature of your work and being exceptionally curious, ultimately the end goal of a business is, to return money to the shareholder or shareholders. It's a commercial enterprise. So typically in a lot of businesses, you find that balance through, for some it could be partnership. Somebody's really commercially focused and how do we make money and how do we look after the business and make sure that if we put one in, we get three out. But some people, don't have partnership in place. So is that something that you grapple with around, I'm really curious, I want to build this thing, or I want to explore building this thing. But ultimately, at some point, you need to make a decision on, can we make money with this or not? For some, they might have, grand ideas beyond, I don't even care about making money. It just feels like the right thing to do for kind of society, so I'm going to continue to develop it. But where do you sit in that camp? Do you think that that's something that you struggle with? Do you find that balance well? Do you have someone that you lean into for a bit of advice to go, I've got this thing, here's the point that I've taken it to, do I continue? How do I commercialise it? So how do you grapple with that, I guess, in your own head?
It's a really good question. And in the past, I have thought about it. And funnily enough, I have thought about you two working together at different occasions where a partnership obviously works and works very nicely. I have my fair share of failed partnership situations where it didn't work out, and somewhere it worked, but just but not in a way where it would be kind of all for one for all kind of situation. I think absolutely, the question that you have asked, when you get a situation where you have trustworthy, trusted partners who are committed and sincere and interested in the same things and moving things forward with immense respect for each other, that's really ideal and fantastic. And really then things can grow so much and sky is the limit, or maybe sky is just the starting point. You go in stratosphere or wherever else after that. For me, that is yet to materialize. And thinking about it with regards to partnership, let me tell you a little anecdotal story, and I will link it into some of the principles that I think should be in place. I was at a friend's son's wedding. So his son was getting married, and the person who was conducting the marriage, he mentioned some of the characteristics driven from the religious context that should be there in the life partner. So the religious context is, I'm Muslim, and we have Quran as what we believe to be the divine book. And in there, God Almighty says that we have made you, the husband and wife, as dress for each other, like, what you wear. So that religious person was explaining the qualities of dress. And I was thinking about the business partnership, and I think quite a lot applies there as well. So if you think about dress, there are like 5 elements or attributes of a dress. Number 1, our dress beautifies you. So if you have either your husband or wife or a business partner, you should be in a position or mindset to improve them, beautify them, make them better, make them look better and be better in life. The second one is that the dress protects you. So if the world is tough out there, and you need to be like a solid support rock internally, so that your business partner gets rejection and dejection and depression from outside world, they should be able to come back, and as a partner you support them to rejuvenate and go back out there to fight the battles again the next day. The dress also conceals. So anything that's internal, whether it's between husband and wife or it's in business, in the partners, a secret remains secret. That builds trust and credibility. You never, ever, ever share anything outside, because things don't remain hidden. They are going to come back, and when it comes back, it's going to be out of context and without information. Suddenly, the trust relationship has that little crack in the mirror that then is nearly impossible to get out and just expands like a spider web in a cracked mirror. The dress also, where were we? 3. So the dress also gets dirty if you don't take care of it. So relationship, whether husband and wives or between partners, it takes effort, constant working at it and on it to keep it tidy and clean and beautiful and fresh. And it's like Stephen Covey's emotional bank account system. You just don't keep on extracting. You have to deposit into it as well. And the 5th one is that the dress gets torn if stretched, or if stretched beyond its limits. So don't take your partner, whether life partner or business partner, for granted. Don't push it beyond the limits where the dress is going to be ripped and the partnership becomes irrecoverably damaged.
Yeah. I think that's a really powerful story. I think reflecting on it, you obviously need to make me a wee bit more beautiful, Brad. You'd be slacking in this up front.
You walk through what you're given. So,
but that aside, it's actually apart from that one point, I think a lot of the things resonate quite a lot with just their example.
And I think it's too easy. Like we've had, honestly, I'd guess about 80% of people who come on the podcast, they either don't know that we're business partners, or they just forget and they go, don't ever get into partnership, it never works. Tried it a million times, you know, you always get burned. And it's like, do you know that we're business partners? But I think a huge part of what drives us on to make this work is actually there's probably a wee subconscious thing around proving people wrong.
Yeah.
Because so many people say, Partnership doesn't work. But actually, I'm not here to say that that's the right way or the wrong way. There is no right or wrong way. You know, it's like you find your path or you lay out your path. And for some that's going solo, they like to have that. You know, I like to just make decisions and crack on, and I don't need to consult anybody else. I can never envision doing it myself, to be honest. I really can't. I don't know if it's just because I don't know any different. And a lot of the stuff that you've just spoken us through that lovely anecdote certainly resonates with me. But I just wondered, like, I know you're very creative in mind, but also a real technician in what you do. But sometimes I guess the trade-off of that is that commercially people can lose focus on the end goal, which is to make money. So is that something that you just need to constantly be conscious of? Is that we need to be creating things for a return?
So that's a really, really interesting one, because I don't know. The end goal is to make money. Is it? What is the end goal? And if one has lots and lots of money, you know, I hear about stories about people who are money can buy happiness versus money cannot buy happiness situation. Speaks the guy who has skinned himself. Talk to me when I have made my millions and billions and trillions. Yeah, but I think that is an important element. One of the things that I really have admired about GMM, about yourselves, is the kind of honest and earnest approach with no push. Like, I have never had any, other than being pushed into doing a podcast, that you must buy this, or like, you know, this is necessary. It has always been more of a collaborative kind of approach. So the same would apply to you as well, that like the objective is at some level to make money. But is it the ultimate objective? I don't feel that coming from yourselves. That's not the vibe. So.
That's an interesting point that you've picked up on, actually, because thinking about some of the greats, I guess, you know, there's so many stories around, do I think Elon Musk does it for the money? No, I don't. I think he does genuinely have like some internal mission to just improve society, and the money, I guess, is just the throughput.
Side effect of it.
It's the side effect of what he's doing. There's others, like, you know, the infamous one is Zuckerberg being offered $1 billion by Yahoo to buy Facebook years and years and years ago, and every one of the shareholders going, like, there's nothing to think about, we're selling, and he's just like, no, we're not. Like, I have a mission, I'm seeing it through. And just making crazy, in inverted commas, crazy commercial decisions that ordinary people could never make. I'd be like, oh my God, $1 billion? Like, we are cashing in, do you know? Like, so that's an interesting point. I guess my default position is probably, you know, everything in business should be guiding us towards a return for shareholders. But maybe actually the point that you're picking me up on is a pertinent one. It's not necessarily just about, because I mean, realistically, most people, Barry and I certainly, before we stepped into business, earned good money, had a good career. So why do you do it? Why do you take on all of that stress and uncertainty?
God knows sometimes.
You know, like, and it probably is. Some of it's subconscious, some of it's conscious, but there's probably something else driving you on rather than just...
So, deeper level to it, if I think back to why and where the money part comes to, I would probably track it back to another conversation with my dad. As I mentioned, he is quite faith-driven, and he mentioned to me in one of those conversations that there are 3 things that God has kept in his hand, and people spend and waste their lives chasing after them. The first of those 3 things is life and death. The second is honor and rising in ranks versus dishonor or disgrace, and kind of just getting into shambles, reputation-wise speaking. And the third is risk, which is kind of RIZQ, if you want to call it, which includes livelihood and things that you own or possess and your belongings, and all of that is cumulatively in that word, one word, but mainly if you want to call it livelihood. And basically people spend their lives chasing after that. The best you can do, he said, is try your best and then leave the result in the hands of the Almighty. And I think when I came to Scotland, some of these things didn't make that much sense, practically speaking, at that time. But I was very fortunate to be in really good company. And I would say one of the other people who has made a lot of impact and influenced me, made an impact on my life, was a teacher from Strathclyde University. Her name was Leslie Hetherington. And sadly, she passed away about 1.5 years ago. But she showed me practically what it means to be a good person, regardless of any prejudice and regardless of any other ulterior motives or whatnot. Just being an honest, decent, down-to-earth, good person to be to others, kind of thing. And that has then created that impact on me that if I am trying to do the best I can, and if I'm trying to be honest and sincere about it, there is that abundant universe mentality that the universe is going to take care of the rest of it. You don't have to worry too much about it.
Yep, I like that.
Yeah,
that's
simple.
And that feels like a nice moment to, I guess, we've spoke a bit about Welltime. So just before we wrap up, like, what's the grand plan for Welltime? Like, what are you thinking? You've spoke about some of the things that on a more granular level you're working on right now, but what's the big goal, ambition for Welltime over the next 5-10 years?
Okay. So I have a 10-year plan. It's actually, it started way back 20 years ago. So let's call it it's a 30-year plan, but I just keep on moving the starting point. So it's always a 10-year plan. The way I see the world, commercial world anyway, is that there are products. So you can have a shopping cart on your website and you put things and you buy those. And there are services which are essentially conducted through appointments. So professional and semi-professional engagements happen where transaction and engagement is coming to exchange value through an appointment. For the products world, if I asked you where would you go to buy something, what name comes to your mind immediately?
Amazon.
Fantastic job they have done. Fantastic, good. But for services world, if you wanted to get an appointment for accountant or a plumber or a physiotherapist or dentist or whatnot, what name comes to mind?
Google, probably. I just got to Google and find one locally.
Correct, but there is a bit of searching involved, and that find one locally is maybe there or not. Or even if they have a website, but not ability to book live. That means that you are back to the telephone.
Yeah.
I've got a question about that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to jump in because I know you're going somewhere with this, but I was in London last week and it was the first real life example of, I would do what Brian does, right? Which I would go to Google and I'd search for what I was looking for. But believe it or not, this actually happened. It's hard to believe when I tell you, but I was in a barber's last week in London, right? And I was getting my hair cut, right? And
I would say that again.
In a barber's, believe it or not. And I was the person was asking me, what do I do? I'm like, I'm in marketing. They're like, would you make it AI? And I was like, it's grown arms and legs. So I just reversed the question. I was like, do you use AI? So this is a barber. And he's like, I use it every single day. And I was like, tell me why, tell me how. And he used it most recently to decide where he was going to go on holiday and get recommendations and the best way to book it. I was like, so how did you do that? He said, I want to go on holiday, I want it to be cheap, I want to go to a beach, and I'm only going to go for 3 days. Would you recommend? He ended up going to Tunisia, I think it was.
Nice.
So the example, the reason I'm tying this in is, where do you see, because I'm already starting to see this AI search or AI search engine optimization. I don't even know if you call it a search engine now, but AI optimization. Do you see that user behavior starting to move that way, or are we still a little bit far off?
Oh, big way. So it's the next, if we look at it, it's kind of evolutionary trajectory. Previously, there was yellow pages, and then on the website, you have lots and lots of websites, and a search engine thing comes which can arrange it in order of relevance. So you, rather than plowing through 70 or 80 or 200 pages of links, you have something that maybe you can find within 2 or 3 or 5 searches of the top few results. The next stage there is, why do I have to go through those 5 or 6? If I just ask it, can it not find the information from not only those 5 or 6, but from elsewhere as well that I may not have thought of, or that site may not have the keywords that links it, but my query would have been pertinent. So a mechanism that allows that information to be fetched, collated, summarized, articulated, and linked to what I am interested in. That is a massive time-saving element. And as I think there are many people who are saying it or calling it, knowledge is becoming more accessible and cheaper. Previously, it was data that was, or information. So in the first stage, it was data, then it got converted into information. Information was cheaper and accessible through internet. It wasn't translated or converted into knowledge at that stage. Now, that information combined and articulated in a way that makes it useful for me is the knowledge that I'm getting. Hopefully, one day from that knowledge, we will migrate towards getting wisdom and getting better things. But I think because it makes life easier, and at the moment things are cheaper or free essentially, but I think at some point there would be reckoning and it would get into some sort of a arrangement. We are starting to see a little bit of that. But AI is a step forward in a way that I think Andrew Ng is saying that it's like invention of electricity. But the way I think about it is that you were doing certain things, let's say plowing a field with oxen and a plow, burrowing, whatever. And then a tractor came and one person can do the task 10 times better or 10 times faster or cheaper or more effectively. So it's, in that sense, it's a force multiplier. And when it starts to do all of these at the same time, 10 times more, 10 times faster, 10 times cheaper, etc., that's 10 multiplied by 10. So you get 1,000 or 10,000 times effect getting generated from that.
Yeah.
That is a massive, massive attractive thing for us human beings anyway.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we? Who would want to go back in the age of internet back to the library and find the yellow pages and find a plumber or a painter or decorator in there? That is inefficient. This becomes more productive, more efficient.
It's curation, isn't it? It's like we've spent the last 30 years to a certain extent uploading all of the information onto the internet. The Google search engine, or I guess other search engines, have done a great job in terms of like curating that and going, here's a summary, you pick. But it's like taking that a step further, like, I don't know, for financial services, Money Supermarket or Compare the Market is a great example of how it's like, right, the information's there. So if it's a plumber, I could Google 10 local plumbers, but you then still have that challenge. Are the cowboys legitimate? Where are the ratings? What's the pricing? So that I can do that. And we just don't have the time. We don't have the willingness to do that manually often now. I typically just do it the risky way, which is Googling it, finding one and going, okay, I'll just get them out. Take a punt on it. They're either good. Risking it all, either good or they're garbage. But it feels like, AI is going to help bridge that gap in a way that we've just never experienced before. Because even some of those that I've mentioned, like Compare the Market, right? The reality is it's probably surfacing the one not with the best rating or the best rate. It's more often than not surfacing the one that Compare the Market get the best affiliate commission for. Let's be honest and candid about it. So it's all, I don't know if my viewpoint's right or wrong, but I see it as bridging the ultimate gap, which is, to use your simplistic example of, I need a service of some sort. I need to curate all of this information that's available to me on the internet and home in on 2 or 3 options that are just there for me in summary that I can pick from. And I need that to happen in real time.
Yeah. So, yes, but there are caveats and some real interesting challenges around it as well. The first part is that collecting all the information from many different sources, it's efficient and time saving to get to the answer very quickly. Let's say you wanted to find out what was the velocity of light. Well, you will get a BBC website listed in a search engine in Google, Bing, whatever, and 15 different. I mean, you'll have 20,000 results, but you have a human capacity of going through 6 or 7 of those. So you open and click on a website, and then it opens. Then you have to plow through and find that section where it talks about speed of light to get the answer that you're after. Whereas just by asking it, and a large language model that has been trained and has that information is just presenting you with the answer straight away is efficient time saving. The next step there is that, okay, so say for example, if I had certain things that I needed to get done after my initial query, those things I would still have to copy paste information, then collect it, then etc. If I put that information in an Excel sheet and then email it to some people and then get it, the AI, and especially the agentic AI or AI agents based mechanism, is going to start taking all of those steps in the digital domain. So copy pasting Excel or Google Sheets opening, sharing some information, then emailing it, getting approval, then sending. As long as it is within the realm of bits and bytes, those parts the artificial intelligence based, agentic based systems can do, and persistently, and they are getting better and better each day. So anything that you can see and can be captured from the eye of a camera goes into the computer. You can do whatever needs to get done, whether it be analyzing an X-ray or a pathology slide or whatnot for determination of cancer, non-cancer. These are all well-established use cases, and already AI is at getting very close or at human level. Or let's put it this way, that other than the 1% top humans, it's at the level where you have the minus that 1% other human beings in that profession who have been trained for many years would be. It raises a few challenges too, or questions. So an example I think we may have talked about in the past as well is that if I want the AI to book a restaurant table for my birthday party and tell all my friends so they can join the party, and it's useful to understand what that entails. And I think it was maybe the CEO of Signal who was mentioning this, I think. But basically what this entails is that the AI needs to have access to my calendar to see when I am available. It would need to have access to my financial mechanisms so that it can pay for the table. It would have access to the browser, so it will go and search for it. It will have access to my social media feed, whether it be X, Twitter, Signal, some other mechanism to talk to, or email, certainly, to talk to all my friends and book all of these things and do all of these. And it's doing this all in, number one, in a plain text mechanism, because large language models are still having this information passed through to them in non-encrypted plain communication channel. That then means that it's a very attractive thing for cyber criminal to launch a man-in-the-middle attack or some sort of a observe and watch kind of a mechanism to get this information. The second element is that for AI to be granted access to certain things on my system, it's going to be very difficult to then isolate other parts of my personal life or hard drive or online systems which are off limits. When it gets information, it's going to go into all of the folders and get access to them. All the photos, all the letters, emails in the past. The third interesting challenge there would be that when AI is engaging on my behalf and it starts doing certain things that we have heard about, hallucination or some of these other, then how would I get to know until it's too late?
Too late,
right?
Yeah.
And the interesting other part is that even if you manage to put some of the information in protected, isolated, non-accessible way that AI doesn't have access to it, with all the other stuff that's around, it can infer that information. So it can maybe infer, let's say you have protected your date of birth. It can infer that you went to college with so-and-so and that person's date of birth or attending the college was at that year. So it works back from there, what are the likely years in which you could have been born. And then it could pick up from your astrological interest that, which month you might be born
Or I could just go on your Facebook and see whenever they said happy birthday, Brian.
Exactly. Or happy birthday. Or that kind of a wish from somebody else, somewhere else, 17 years ago. Happy birthday, Brian message. I might not remember. It might not even be on your name. It was somebody else on their wishing. It's on their wall. And suddenly, putting these things together, it has inferred something that would otherwise be humanly quite difficult to do without spending a lot of time.
Do we? I know we're getting into the rabbit hole here, right? Like AI and the challenges with it in particular, right? But a big challenge, I think, that not even a challenge, it's a perception, right? Because I don't think it is a challenge quite yet. There's a perception that like it'll continue to grow and learn to a point where it's dangerously smart. It's smarter than humans, and can then, we were talking about this in the office last week. The obvious examples: Terminator. I can't quite remember how we got. I can remember there was a news article about some AI somewhere had allegedly reprogrammed itself to not close down. So it had initially been coded to say when this happens, close down. And it kind of re-engineered that and didn't close down. And then I think I flippantly said to you, Sarah Connor will be here soon to save us. But do you think, based on your understanding and what you've learned AI thus far, that there is like a serious consideration in that space around? Naturally, there's so many pros of it being available. It'll be a really exciting 20 years. But do we just need to tread with caution, do you think?
Let me ask it in a different way with a little analogy. Imagine that we are at the turn of the 19th century and somebody has invented the internal combustion engine and the motor vehicles and the cars. And I'm saying to you that, that's not ever going to take on. It's kind of dangerous. I mean, imagine if I am riding a horse and you are coming with a horse, the horses wouldn't collide unless, they will pass by and all sorts of accidents would happen and all sorts of negative things are going to happen. What happens if you run out of fuel in the middle? I mean, grass is free and available and the horse can be refueled anytime and etc. What happens if the thingies, that round thing that you are putting on, if it doesn't have the air in it, and etc. A lot of issues, doomsday scenario, but here we are. The thing with technology, Ginny, is that once it's out of the bottle, it's really difficult to put it back in. What tends to happen, if we look at history, I think, is that we find ways to coexist and cope and nudge and move it in the directions that we want. Because human beings have creativity and creative abilities. In my humble opinion, It really depends on what is the specific scenario that AI would become dangerous in that specific kind of situation or circumstance. And let's say if we come up with that kind of situation or circumstance, then collectively there is enough brain power on the planet to find out what would be our response to do it. I mean, there are lots and lots of doomsday scenario movies and series and TV and whatnot. But practically all of those could have happened at any time. I mean, the car example, there should be accidents in every street on every second day because the cars don't go to the sideways as horses would. How come we are not having those accidents?
You've used the term, I guess, a couple of times in the podcast, but it's guardrails, and it's like when you design it, it's right, let's have a bit of governance in place that just protects us. And I guess that's a really good way of looking at it. Like, you know, aircrafts is another example. Like, I dare say the first person that said we could fly, like what? Like, no way.
That was a person who, going back to their early point, naive, but also problem solving.
But what was the phrase that I can imagine many people would have said that if God had meant the man to fly, would have given him wings. You don't have wings, that means it's not to be. I think eventually we shouldn't underestimate the AI's potential for, as we put it, dangerous part, but we should also not underestimate the human ingenuity and ability and creativity. And actually, this reminds me, I saw a cartoon where it was like artificial intelligence in one corner of the ring, and there was real stupidity in the other corner.
Well, when you put it like that, actually,
human being there, and they were like having their gloves on.
I resonate to that. And this is, obviously we're starting to talk about AI, right? But I'm just conscious of time, and when you start talking to me about AI, Mubbasher,
there's
I won't
going to be a lot. I would mention one other thing with regards to when we were talking about these different components. In terms of risks that we have been talking about, risking it all, and then we talked about partnership, etc. I think what can we do to minimize or reduce those risks? What would be ways, behaviors, and mechanisms that would help us mitigate those risks? And this again comes from some of the religious or faith-based upbringing and context, but there are some good values-based principles that I have learned over the years. One of them, which I think is extremely dangerous, is the component of backbiting. What that means is that saying something about somebody else behind their back that if they heard it, they would not like it. And even though it is truth. That I have found from my personal experience has damaged relationships to the level where it has really gone horrendous. And I can see why backbiting is prohibited in lots of philosophies and religions and faiths. And I think the main component there is that usually it comes around devoid of the context and the whole situation. And then suddenly people just go haywire in that aspect. One of the other elements I think that is quite useful is not to have negative assumptions about the other person. Just basically not having the automatic paranoia about, oh, that person is like this and therefore must be like this, etc. Just basically not having that is helpful. And these two things have kind of been useful to preserve my own sanity when I had been kind of in the downs and negative parts. Another valuable lesson I think I would like to share is not to be nosy about other people's affairs. This is kind of just peace of mind thing where being nosy and knowing about things partially or incompletely or from unreliable sources and this and that has a potential for causing so much misunderstanding. And finally, there is immense power in forgiveness. If somebody has ever done something bad or negative and whatnot, got to learn to forgive, which would enable us to move forward. Otherwise, there is a kind of a negative downward spiral in which we can kind of just dwell into deeper and deeper. The only possibly 3 exceptions, I would say, to the backbiting rule that I try to implement in my life are if it is in a court of law, where you are asked to be a witness of something, then it's not backbiting because you are providing some information to a certain situation. Or if it is business partnership, where somebody is asking for an open, honest opinion about somebody they want to go into partnership with, or in the same extent, if somebody is getting married and they are looking for a spouse and certain information, then it's incumbent to be honest about that. Other than that, I would say that backbiting and negative assumptions and the being nosy part and then looking into other people's affairs and putting your foot where it doesn't belong, these kind of things. And when or if something like this happens, ability to have that readily forgive with sincerity and close the chapter so that you can move forward.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think there's no better moment to end this week's podcast on. So I've honestly loved sitting across for you today, Mubbasher. I always enjoy spending time with you. I always feel a bit less intelligent, if I'm honest, when I'm in a room with you. But really, really enjoyed your story. Thank you so much for coming along today and sharing it with everybody. Thanks to everybody or anybody that's made it to the end of the podcast. That was a mammoth or marathon session, but hopefully you enjoyed it as much as we did. Be back in a few weeks with another episode. And as always, if you've not subscribed or followed our social pages or YouTube channel yet, please make sure that you do that right now.
Thanks, Mubbasher.
Cheers, Mubbasher.
My pleasure.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me.